On November 1st and November 2nd, families gather to celebrate the lives of those that are no longer with us. On Dia de los Muertos, our antepasados wake up from a 4-year sleep. They prepare to return to the living world to walk amongst us. They are thirsty, they need illumination, they need food to nourish their essence, and they need time to wash up, to brush their teeth, to shave. And on this day, our universe and the universe of the spirit world are parallel with each other. And although we can't physically see them, they are with us, mirroring themselves in the pictures in sugar skulls and the memories of them that we share with one another. Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Garcia. I'm a professor of art education at Sacramento State University, and I'd like to welcome you all to our first session of our mini Dia de los Muertos shoebox altar. So on behalf of the Washington Neighborhood Center, I'd like to welcome everyone to our first of 3 sessions. Today, we are going to go over a couple of things that you will need for this project. Number 1, you will be needing a shoebox. So an empty shoebox will do. The box does not have to have a separate lid to it. The lid could be attached so that it can easily open and close, much like this one right here. A few other things that you're going to need for the first session is going to be some glue, a pair of scissors, and you're also going to need tissue paper. All of these items I was able to find at the Dollar Tree. For this tissue paper, you actually get 24 sheets for $1, and so you get to choose from any colors that you would like. So step 1 to creating our shoebox is going to require for us to take 2 sheets of tissue paper. Now there's different ways that you can do this. You can cut your tissue paper into smaller squares if that's the way you like your tissue paper, or you can simply rip pieces off of your tissue paper to cover up your box. The paper does not have to be perfect, and one of the things that I do want to tell everyone is that your mini shoebox altar does not need to look like mine, because we are very different people and you have a very different way of creating things, and so do I. So if your shoebox does not look exactly like mine, it's okay. I want you to understand that as an artist, all our work is going to look very unique to the things that we like. Okay? So with that said, our first step is going to be to cover the inside of our shoebox. Alright, so both the lid and the inside of the shoebox. The outside part we can leave by itself. If you want to wrap it up later on, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so our first step is going to be to get some of the glue that I require you guys to get. And what you're going to do is pretty much spread the glue all over the box. And first we're going to start with the bottom part of the shoebox. Once we finish that, we can do the edges and everything else. Alright, so just to get things started, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down, let's just say, a big sheet of some of this paper. Alright, so I'm going to rip it and I'm just going to glue it to the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing with the larger paper. There's parts of it that doesn't have glue, but I'm going to come back and use glue on it, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Alright, notice how I'm just kind of ripping the paper apart. I'm not even using scissors. It's faster anyway, and so that's just the way that I like to do things. I like to do things kind of quick, but some of us like to take our time, and sometimes I take my time, sometimes I don't. But So right now I'm just using one color because I'm going to use both colors anyway. Alright, so that's sort of how I start. But little by little I'm going to start adding some of that green. I wanna be able to show both colors. So for example here, I'm going to tear a piece off of this. I can use it all or tear a little piece. And I'm going to continue adding glue on here. And keep in mind too that for the purposes of this video, I'm kind of doing this a little bit quick, just so that it won't be a long video. Alright, so I'm going to start laying down my green on here. So I'm going to be using green, yellow, green, yellow, green. And you can use more than one color if you want. Alright, so again, I'm just tearing pieces of paper, putting them on here. It can be a combination of both. Okay, so I'm just going to add a smaller piece of paper and we are all done. Okay, so the inside of the shoebox is done. The inside part of the lid is done. And like I said, you don't have to do the outside yet. Your box doesn't need to be exactly like mine. You can do your altar to look like this, or you can make your altar look like this. Depending on how many things you're going to include, you can do it whatever way you would like. But here is part one of our shoebox altar. So this part of the shoebox is actually going to take you probably between 40 minutes and 1 hour. Okay, so don't think that you can make this pretty quick. You have to take your time. If you get tired, take a break. Come back to it later. You can come back and work on it the next day. So we're creating these mini altars. But I didn't talk earlier about who I am making it for. Right? Because we're going to commemorate one of our ancestors that is no longer living. Okay, and to give you an example, I'm going to commemorate my grandparents. Okay, so because I'm going to focus on my grandparents, and you don't need a picture for the second session, but what I do want you to think about is who you're going to dedicate the altar to. Alright, and so there's a couple of things that I want you to think about. Okay, so number one, who is this altar for? Right, and in my example, I'm going to say, my altar is for my grandparents. Then you're going to write a sentence about something they each like to do. So my grandfather liked taking care of his roosters. And so that's something I'm going to write down. My grandfather liked taking care of his roosters. And my grandmother liked to sell clothes. She used to sell clothes in Mexico to different cities that were near her home. And that's something that my grandma liked to do. Okay, so I want you to keep those things in mind. Number three, I want you to think about what was something that they liked to eat. Because in an altar, we want to include images or little items that has to do with something they liked or they like to eat. Okay, and number four, who do you think they would come visit when they are back for Dia de los Muertos? Would they go see your parents? Would they come see you? Would they come see their best friend or your uncles or your aunts? Okay, so something to think about. Whoever you're commemorating your altar to, those are going to be 4 things that I'm going to want you to think about. Number 1, who is it for and what are their names? Number 2, what's something that this person liked to do? Number 3, what's something that this person liked to eat? And number 4, who is someone that this person would like to go visit? And for next time, remember, you're going to need, again, more papel picado, whatever colors you want to choose, because we're going to make the mini papel picado. You're going to need some string, you're going to need some scissors, and you're also going to need some pipe cleaners, because we're going to create mini flowers, tissue paper flowers, to include in our altar. Okay? So, for now, this will be the end of session 1, and your homework again is to think about who this is going to be for and bring some of the items that I just mentioned. Okay? Hasta la próxima. This is Mr. Garcia. I'm looking forward to seeing you again for the next session, and have a good day.